I'm going to share my screen too. All right. Let's go here. All right. Okay. If you look at my screen now, good afternoon again, everyone. If you are hungry, just go and grab your food and eat in front of computer. Saya tak nampak pun. So this course is Analysis Data Scientific Marine, MMS 3012. First time being offered for students. So you are the most lucky batch because everybody just started to venture into this data scientific marine. Previously, we sent students to statistic class, but your batch have no statistic. Did your class have statistic? No, you only learn mathematics. Mathematics and statistics is different. Okay, mathematics is 1 tambah 1 samaan dengan 3. 2, right? But statistics is how do you collect and interpret. So we are going through statistics. If you look at the syllabus from your share screen, from my share screen, it's very basic. Okay, it's for you to explain about the principles for analyzing, especially for marine data, and then how to apply and how to present. Okay, if you go further down to the topics, I think the topics are very rigid and very precise to specific. So me and Dr. Chung already adjust so that it become more easier for you by looking at this analysis data scientific exam and schedule. So if you look at our schedule, is very basic that you learn about introduction all the way to different kind of statistics from ANOVA, UNCONOVA, bivariate until week 4. And then we go through slowly a little bit on different kinds of perspective. Because marine science, as you know, we have biology. So we have biology indexes. And then we also have geology. Then we have chemistry. And then, of course, we have physical. Most of the time, because this is very related to your final year and to other courses, because when people ask about marine science, you always say, oh, marine science, we learn everything, right? We learn everything. But how do we say that what is the main point is that even though we learn about biology, right? The most important, even for marine science, actually the basics is for organisms. And how does this chemistry, physical, and geology actually influence the biology? The biology cannot stand and cannot survive without the help of physical, chemistry, and geological. It must be interrelated together. Okay. And then at the end, we will show you some mapping, because mapping is very important, means visual. How to say? Visual of visual means you have to present it that people see and it's easier for us to understand. For example, I'm going to present you a graph of the age of students. Of course, you want to know the age of student, what is the most minimum, what is the maximum. Averagely, they are 21 or 22 years old. But if within your data, your students is from 0 to 100, then you only have a very small data in between of 20 to 23, right? So the way of us presenting data is for people to understand. Okay. I think that's all for that. Okay. If you go to eLearn, okay, can you see my eLearn? I think you can see my eLearn. Right. So eLearn, we have online link for Sunday and Thursday. Sunday is class, and then Thursday is more to discussion. But since there are time of public holiday and different time, everyone agree that the Thursday would be just in the morning, 10 to 12. Okay. No excuses of saying that I have other classes, because we all agreed that it will be conducted in the morning for K1 and K2. Okay. The link will be the same for me and Dr. Chong, because now we know that we can co-share the link between two of us. Okay. Thank you to the one that posted in WhatsApp group just now on the link. Siapa tu, sebab dia punya nama is like like no name, so I don't know who's that. All right. Okay. So for week 1 today, let's try to learn statistics. I'm also like, I have to prepare the notes, like how I'm going to make you feel more interesting on statistics. Okay. So introduction to statistics. You can see my full screen on slides, right? Right. Okay. So introduction, I think I have introduced a lot just now. Doesn't need much more. What is your impression when you say statistic? Are you happy, or are you like, help me? Because I think this is the most serious problem when talk about statistic to, I think, to all students and Malaysian, not only marine science student, but everywhere that we go to, and then we talk to students, oh, statistic is good. And then everybody like, pening, belum belajar pun sudah pening. Happy with you. So, feeling blue, I also feel a little bit like, statistics is not that hard. It's just that we need to understand, apply. Some of you might be very sad because every time I do mathematics and statistics, my answer is always wrong. Okay, so the question here now is that, what is statistic? What are the difference of statistic compared to mathematics? Okay, statistic is a very broad, from like a whole project. You cannot say statistic is just t-test and whatever test. Statistic is not only about tests. It's the study how to collect, how to organize, analyze, interpret. So I put in the keywords C and O, collect and organize. This one I give you thumbs up, because I think our students are very equipped to collect and organize. When we ask students to go to the field, collect data, oh, everybody is jumping up and down, we can go to the field. I'm sorry, this batch have not, belum pergi kerja lapangan. Sorry. I think, I also don't know how to explain, but COVID makes so sad. I also so sad I cannot go kerja lapangan next week, because I think teaching this class already made me headache. So I'm like you lah, I have not go kerja lapangan for students last year and this year. Never mind, we will try to go. Hopefully Dr. Ong still arrange lah. Tak tahu bila, but no worries. Make sure that before you grad, you would go once. So we go and collect and organize. You could go, means you go to the field, you pergi mandi, then you see got fish, then you write down what's the fish name, what are the corals name, then you go to collect water quality, then you muntah, blah, 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 blah. That is called you go and collect. So C and O is a very fun part. But when it comes back to the lab, to analyze, to interpret, numerical, when you want to interpret, that is the time where I give you like CPR. We really need the CPR to do the A, I, and N. If you don't do the CPR, you would crash your car, and then after that, I don't know what happened now. It's back to your emotion just now. Nah, emoji, got a lot of emoji, right? So statistic is that the whole package, a package from starting until the end, right? So let's start with, we will go through what is statistic, but let's start with this title. The title is The Pathway by Which Plastic Enters the World Ocean. When you look at this title, what is the question that you can think of? There must be a question, because people are born to have questions. If you don't have questions, then why are you on earth, right? Why are you here on Earth? The most common questions. And then so when you talk about the title, the pathway by which plastic enter the world ocean, what is the first question that comes through your mind? Jawablah, jawab. How? What is, when you question now, you don't give me how, what, why, and when. That is the 5 common question. But how, what? How, how does the plastic enter the ocean? What kind of plastic enter the ocean? Yes, all these kinds of questions are the one that need to be solved by statistic. Okay, when I talk statistic, you don't think that t-test, p value, r value, tak ada, belum lagi. We are not there yet. We have not arrived to getting all your table A and Y, X and Y, tak ada lagi. It's about, you have to think of the question first, right? So one of the, okay, so from the title, actually they have a diagram by this world ocean data, world in data. So they say global primary plastic production is 270 million tons per year. When you have, this is data, where do they get the data? Where do they get the data? Survey. Yes. So how do they do survey? Is that if this is, I mean, this title is very big. So if saying this is the whole world, so they go to every country and look at what are the plastic production of the country, because country have the data. So they do survey, jabatan, or from jabatan or from department or from the government agencies, you have all the data. Then after that, the production of the waste is 275 millions. So all these data are being collected. So from the question that you think from the previous slide is that what kind of plastic? Is it mentioned in this diagram? Aku kena tengok. Is it mentioned in this diagram? No, tak ada. Because that is not their research question. The research question is that how many plastic produced and went into the ocean. Okay, so the objective is there. The objective is to know how many production that produce and at the end end up in the ocean. So the statistics means the data collected, they analyze is based on what they want to know. They only want to know the total amount. They doesn't need to know what kind of plastic, right? So they are very focused on what they want to know. Okay, so why is statistic important? Is because we want to achieve an answer. If there is no statistic, most of the time is that, for example, if this class, I would say 68 students, 50% of them are sleeping in my class. Okay, then I go tell my management saying that all the students never attend my class, right? But then I have no proof. I have no data. I never collect. Okay, unless every day I ask question to all students, only 5 students answer, and then the rest they will answer. Then I assume that they are sleeping or missing in action. But I can also answer to the department saying that, oh, I have 100% of students all very attentive to my class. Everybody looking at the video, looking at me, very good. Now I like it, right? So I have to collect the data. I have to analyze, and then I present it to somebody. That is why statistics is important. If we don't think that statistics important, then there is no point of me collect data and present. I can just give a number, right? So that is the point of us trying to make sure that your emotion just now, that the blue emotion that you think of, you have to think of like, I am not finding problems for you, but hoping that you can find solution to your answer. How are you going to answer? It's not only on FYP, it's not only on any certain project that have mathematics, but if you go to work someday, your boss asks you, what is the percentage of our sales today? You have to tell, well, how do we calculate percentage of sales today? Then they calculate, ask you, what do you think about your salary? Do you want increment of your salary? Do you want 10% or 20% increment of your salary? You have to justify why you need 20% instead of 10. So all this is what we call the statistic, right? So do not be afraid yet lah. Jangan takut lagi. Saya sebenarnya sangat takut nak mengajar. Because I'm afraid if I doesn't teach that as interesting, students lost the mood. And then when they lost the mood, when they lost the flow of statistic, then at the end it's like, oh, tak apalah, asalkan my final pass sudah lah kan. That is most of the time when somebody give up. When I give up also, as long as I submit the assignment. Okay. So when it comes to that, we must first know what are the individuals of the study. This is very clear. If you want to study something, what are you going to study? The question here is what? Apa itu? Apa yang dikaji? Okay. And then after that, what are the variables? Parameter. This is variables is something that the students sometimes confuse. Apa itu? Cause my notes is all in English. I really don't know what is in Malay. If I wrongly translate it, mohon maaf if you can correct me if I am wrong. Variables adalah PM is variable lah.
Pemboleh
PE,
ubah.
Pemboleh ubah.
Okay.
Very good, very good. Okay, pemboleh ubah. Apa yang boleh diubah, right? So the characters. So let's look back to this case study that we have discussed earlier. What is the individuals? What are the main focus? Plastic, yes. So when we talk about individuals, because when we come to statistics, people always think a human or an object or an organism. But in this case study, plastic is the object. Okay, so we want to know surface or deep water? No. Shafika. The individuals are plastic because you want to know what happened to the plastic. Okay. The second one is the variables, pemboleh ubah, something that can be measured and observed. What can we measure from the plastic? The location, okay. Lagi? Amount, okay. Total amount. Okay. The weight, yes, weight. The type. So you can think of what are the variables. So I just list down lah, because I think some of you. So when we talk about plastic, there are types of plastic, weight of plastic, like plastic bottle, and then we have plastic mouse. Then we have plastic ruler. All these are plastic. There are different kind of types of plastics, right? And they weight differently. So if I throw this by the beach, this one might ends up at the bottom. This one would be at the surface because this one float. Okay. Then the length, size there. What is the size, the strength of the plastic, and the surface finishing? So when we talk about variables, there are a lot of variables that you can describe, right? But when we talk about variables, there are two different setting of variables. Okay. Faham kan sini? Okay lah? Can, right? Individuals and variables. You have to memorize and understand all this terminology. I cannot change the term. The term is for the statistic to use. Okay. So first individuals, two is variables. When after this, all the variables change into two, either quantitative or qualitative. Okay. So the quantitative, the orange one, has a value or numerical measurement that you can measure, okay, by adding or averaging. It is like weight, type, all that can be measured. That is called quantitative. All right. But qualitative, the quality of it is the category like you categorize as PV, the PVC1, PVC2, PVC3, the category that you categorize them. Actually, quantitative also can be qualitative. For example, quantitative, you measure the weight. Okay, 1 gram, 2 gram, 3 gram. But if you make the weights as a qualitative variables, you can have to put into category light and heavy. Light is 0 to 5 gram. And then 6 to 10 gram is heavy. So it becomes not numerical. Dia bukan lagi angka. Dia bukan 0, 1, 2. Tapi adalah ringan dan berat. That is called qualitative. That you categorize them into different character. Okay. Quantity is that you have to measure. Ada number, ada numbering. Okay. But come back to statistic. Most of the statistic data, they cannot recognize alphabetic. Even though it's a qualitative variable, katakan ringan dan berat, light and heavy, we can represent the light as 0, the heavy as 1. 01, 01, 01, 01, or 012, 013. Means it is still numerical, but do not be confused. The numerical can be quantitative or qualitative. Okay, there is 2 terms, right? So for an exercise, I think I want to call name because first they can. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 type here. I call your name, then you can tell me if that is quantitative or qualitative. All right. Alia Maisara. The type. What is the variables type for type? Alia Maisara kat mana? Siapa-siapa nak tolong jawab?
Qualitative.
Type is qualitative because you cannot measure the type. Okay, so the type can be light plastic or heavy plastic or different kind of plastic. Okay, weight is what? Let's jawab je lah, because I call name also like no response. Quantitative, okay. Weight is quantitative because weight you can have 59.9 kilogram, 0.11 microgram is quantity, is a number. Okay, length.
Quantitative.
Right? You measure. But length is, weight is simple. Weight is that anything you put on a weighing machine. Betul? Whatever is it, besar kecil, you just like put a mark on the weighing machine, you weigh. But length is more tricky because length, for example, plastic. How do you measure the length of this plastic and the length of this plastic? You have to determine the length is from one end to the other end or like this to this. Especially in science, when you talk about in science, what is the size, what is the length of dolphin? How do you measure the length of dolphin?
Dari hujung ke hujung.
Dari hujung ke hujung. Hujung ekor dia ke hujung badan dia?
Hujung ekor. Baik. Macam ukur baby kot, doktor. Dari hujung
Ukur baby pun. Macam mana ukur ketinggian saya? Saya dengan hujung jari kaki ke atas kepala ataupun kat bawah tamak, kat tapak kaki saya. It's too different. If I wear high heels and I don't wear high heels, my height is different. Right? So when you want to do quantitative, you have to be very specific of what is the character of the length, especially on biological specimen. Contohlah, kelebaran saya. How you want to measure my lebar? Saya punya punggung lebar ke saya punya bahu lebar? Kan? It's two different things. Maybe somebody bahu besar, punggung kecil. Ada yang punggung besar, bahu kecil. Right? So, it must have a standard. Okay? Standard. Alright, let's go next one. Strength. Strength is quanti or quali? Quali lah pula, quali masak.
Qualitative.
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 This one I can hear got two different answer. Strength.
Dua-dua tu.
Dua-dua.
Qualitative.
Qualitative.
Quali.
Saya jawab
It's a
qualitative.
qualitative.
I choose quali.
If you want a quantitative, for example, the strength of this plastic. Okay. For example, like this is a plastic. So you ask somebody to tear it. Okay. So you are different people and then you tear it. Boleh atau tak boleh. So it's more qualitative. But if you want it quantitative, means you have to know the strength of every weight and every power that orang yang tear. So usually we also can measure, for example, the pressure machine. So you weight something and then you weight something. So you have it and then you weight like 10 gram, dia koyak tak? 20 gram, dia koyak tak? 30 gram, dia koyak tak? Sampailah you wait until it koyaks 500 gram, baru dia koyak. Then you have a quantitative measurement. But when talk about strength are usually qualitative. As you can see again, there are different kind of how do you define that? Okay. Size, I think size is the same component as length just now. All right. It is still quantitative because you can measure the size, besar mana. So you can measure the volume, you can measure the height, length, and weight. All right. And then surface finish. Surface finish means the materials of the plastic. Is it quantitative or qualitative?
Qualitative.
Qualitative. All right. So now you understand just now. Individuals. What are the individuals? What are the variables? Variables can be a lot. Okay. Either you want to know or you don't want to know the variables. And the variables are categorized into quantitative and qualitative. Simple, very good. Everybody understand. Okay. So, now we know there are a lot of variables. To make you all mingle a bit, I'm going to break you all up into session. Saya rasa boleh buat because last semester everybody cannot, but I think I can break you all into groups. Okay, so the activity for breakout session is that you discuss among your friends of 5 or 10, I don't know, I'm going to adjust. Try to discuss what are the research questions from the variables. Okay, variables tadi saya dah tunjuk. These are the variables and it can be more variables that you can think of. But what are the research questions? Because once you have the research question, then we can go through a bit. So I want to stop sharing. Stop sharing. I'm going to assign you into small groups. Assign manually. Number of breakout. Okay. 10 breakout session. Okay, assignments. Okay, start breakout session. Okay, can you all join the breakout session? Right. I think the breakout session still have. You I can come in and out. You discuss among your friends what are the research questions. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna give you like 3-4 minutes just to do this very short. We are now back. Hello, hello. Okay. I think some of you did not join into breakout session just now. I think few of you, tapi tak ada, then you create your own questions. So now, can I have for the group, one of you just post it back into the chat room of all the questions that you have created from the variables. Okay, we are going through sampai 10 soalan lah. I ask you to do 5. Very bravo to this 5, 5, 6, 7. Oh, tak tahu siapa punya group. I think it's just now the last group that I joined because I asked them to copy. Others have not copied and saved. Faris Shami. Okay, so just now, let's go to share screen again. Screen. Okay, when maybe first time, this is my first time doing breakout session. I think saya pun kelam kabut. I pun don't know how does actually breakout sessions works. But then actually breakout session for you to discuss between your friends, and one of the things that I ask you to do is create questions, because questions can be a lot of variety of questions, but how are you going to answer the questions? Okay, so for example, from this group tak tahu berapa how microplastic affects marine life. So what are the individuals in these questions? How microplastic affects marine life? Tak nampak sini. How microplastic affects marine life? The individuals is no longer plastic. The individuals is marine life. Right? So when we want to create questions, you have to specifically know what are the target. Okay, and then after that, microplastic becomes the variable. So the studies have to aim to focus, find the marine life that were affected by microplastic. Then you know what is your hala tuju. You know what you want to find. You know what to collect. Okay, let's try go question number 2. Does different types of plastic will gather at the same location? Different types of plastic will gather at the same location. Okay, now comes to this is what does different types will gather at the same location? Your variables now become plastic. Your location is the item, right? Okay, I go back just now tadi. Okay, so from the questions you can decide what are the items and what are the variables. What kinds of plastic will sink? This one, the individuals is the plastic, and then the variables is types of plastic. So you have like 20 plastic, 30 plastic, different kinds of plastic. Then you try to sink the plastic. Then you get the data. Okay. And then how to determine the strength of plastic. So the plastic is the individuals, the strength is the variable. I'm trying to find more something like how to identify plastic is how to determine the variables. But between variables and variables, let me see breakout session 3. Okay. What is the common length of plastic can be found at UMT, for example? What is the common length of plastic can be found in UMT? So your item is, your object is plastic, and then you have the variables is the length, and then you have to measure all the length of the plastic. Then you can find the average, the quantitative number, the average value. Okay. What is the smallest and largest size have been found? Smallest and largest, it become qualitative. Okay, because you categorize them to the largest and the smallest, unless you only find the number. The smallest, how do you find smallest until microplastic or nanoplastic level? Or is there a category that you want to find? Okay, so this is all about most of the questions that you have discussed or posted. Now I mean, some of you did not post in chat room, but if you think back, most of your questions is that one variables and one object, okay, 1 to 1. But when you want to think about two different variables, what kind of plastic, for example, what kind of plastic that can disperse from the city to the sea? Okay, but these kinds of plastic, the variables can be, you have to determine the size of it, the length of it, the weight of it. Like there are a lot of variables that you have to determine before you can find out what kind of plastic actually can depart from the city to the sea, right? There would be a lot of variables. So the relationship of variables is where the test and the statistic test comes in. But if it's not two different variables, then it's all about descriptive, where you have to find what more to describe what is happening to the plastic. All right. So I think I didn't get the answer. If we go through, the question next is that, does the data compromise information from all of the plastic, or you can just take representative of a number of plastic if we want to answer the questions that you have posted up? So would it be you have to find and detail all, or you only take a number of plastic to analyze? How are you going to do that? From any questions, most of the time, are you going to take all the plastic, or you are going to take a number? Okay, only take certain number. I mean, I think there is no science or no statistic that can be do for the whole population. Tak boleh, because population is a very high number. For example, even plastic in tong sampah, unless in one tong sampah you can, calculate all the plastic. But if the plastic is in whole UMT, there is no way that you have to find each and detail of the plastic. So what happened is that we take a number. Okay, this one I will leave first. Okay, we only have a representative. So the entire group is called a population. But when we want to do science, it is all about representative. Or is the next one or samples. Saya dah go ahead. Alright, let's go back a bit. It's a population. So population is everything. Alright, but population are not studied in more statistics. We usually take a random number for all the analysis that we are going to take. Okay, use of basic terminology. Okay. This is questions and answer that just to refresh. Department of Fisheries Malaysia is doing a studies of ready to harvest sea bass in an experimental field. So what is the individual? Quick quiz.
Ready to have a sea bass.
Sea bass lah. So it's the sea bass. It's the individual. Okay. And the researchers are interested in the value of the fishes in the field. What are the variables to collect? What kind of variables do you think that the researcher have to collect?
Value.
Value. How do you define the value?
Value of fish.
What is how do you define value? What is value?
Nilai.
Value of the fishes.
Huh?
Harga.
The market price. Yeah, okay. If the market price is based on apa? Based on the weight.
It's
Weight, berat lah. Usually fish is on the weight. If the fish weight is high, then the fish have more value than the weight that is, I mean, 600 gram fish is better than 300 gram fish if you want to sell. Value is RM defined by the weight. Betul? So what are the variables? I give you variables. So it can be weight or you can sell by the length. Okay. There are a lot of variables. There is not only one variables in here. You can sell by length. For example, more than 12 inch, the market price is higher. Less than 12 inch, the market price is lower. Faham tak? Type ah. Type of fish, I think no lah. Because sea bass is one type lah. Unless there is
Type.
yellow sea bass, red sea bass or whatever kind of sea bass. But aquaculture is only one sea bass kan. Size lah ha. Size, weight, length, origin tak lah. Ready to harvest sea bass means that is in a controlled environment. Okay. So if all the sea bass are ready to harvest, katakan dalam kolam tu ada 100 ekor, 200 ekor. But if you calculate all that 200 fish, then you have a population. Alright? Okay. Before maturity, Syafiqah, maturity pun tak. Alright. Okay. So let's stop by looking at one YouTube. Okay. Using the same concept of just now, the sea bass. Okay. Yeah. Because I want to have more interactive, so you see this video first. Harap tak apa? All right. Okay, stop sharing. You understand, right? The video just now was about testing of sample on share. Where's my share? This one. Right. So just now, when we want to harvest the whole population, 200 ikan from the ready to harvest. If we wait and measure that 200 fish, that is a population. But if the researcher want to do data on allergies of sea bass, because somebody, for example, if I eat this fish, I got allergies. So one of the example that from the video is that they have to do testing of the fish. Okay. So the variables of this is what? If I want to do the test. Chat room. To open my chat room. Type of food means the type of the fish content. Betul? Means the type. Type means, I think I'm going to say chat here is that the type and the mercury level means whatever the data from the analysis just now, okay, that is the variables. And that variables, it can be qualitative and categorized because when it is a very short, small test, they tell you yes, allergy or no allergy. Okay. Just now tadi I dah mention kan, if you have qualitative and quantitative, and you have yes or no allergy, it become a qualitative category variables because you only test yes or no. Okay. And the question next is, do the researcher need to do for all fishes? No. Okay. Most probably is no lah, because every test that you do, they must come with total amount of money. Okay, we use representative. So the next question is that most of the statistic, most of the data that we collect is actually from a subsample. Means a population that is so large, you cannot, even 200 fish is considered little lah. Usually fish is like 1,000, 200,000. We cannot analyze for all. But if you just randomly go and take 10, maknanya randomly just pick 10 and then go and test the allergies. And then from the allergies, for example, you have to calculate percentage. Okay. If 8 of the 10 means 80% of it are safe, means the allergies level are 80% non-allergies, right? But if you example, you take out of the 100, you take 20 fish. Okay, if you take 20 fish, then 19 no allergies. So you have to calculate it would be 95% no allergies. So from the percentage equivalent to the whole population. It represents the population itself. So picking the representative is very important. It is not like simply pick. There must be how do you want to pick. And this is all depends on what kind of questions that you want to answer. If your questions want to answer what are the allergies of fishes from the left of the pond to the right of the pond, means you have to collect fish from the left side and from the right side. But if you say the question is that the whole production, the all ready to harvest fish, I just want to know if there is any allergies, then you can just randomly pick 10. Okay, so the questions that you create must guide you to how you want to do the analysis and how many samples do you need to do. So for a ready fish, for example, just now, this sea bass. So if the sea bass that is ready to harvest, pond A, we have 500 fish. Pond B have 1,000 fish. Okay. So the subsample must be equivalent to the percentage of the pond itself. You cannot take 20 from pond A and 20 from pond B, because the population from pond B is larger than the population from pond A. Everybody keep quiet means a little bit like, tak tahu sudah, I make you confused or I make myself confused. Right? So we are going to do questions a little bit slowly by understanding what is it, all right? Okay, so when we want to measure variables, this comes to 4 more categories. Wow. You have to learn all the terminology in one day. I'm going to repeat this on Thursday for us to do a little bit of calculation and stuff like that. So when we want to measure the variables, okay, just now we measure the variables by, the variables can be quantified into qualitative and quantitative, right? But when we want to measure each category of variables, there are actually 4. Okay, there are different 4. And how do you want to categorize these 4? Okay, this is all the what you see now is all the terminology, but I simplified for you. Okay, I simplified for you. The nominal is that the data that you can put into categories. For example, male or female. Yes and no. Heavy and light. Tall and short. That is all nominal, right? And then after that is ordinal. Ordinal means you can put the data from the smallest to largest. Means there is a grading like your final exam. Huh? A plus, A minus, B, B plus, B, and then that is the ordinal. then you can compare data. All right, that is ordinal. Interval is the data that you can put in into, you can combine them together, but there are a gap. For example, 0 to 3, 3 to 5, or maybe temperature, for example, 30 to 31, 31 to 32, 32 to 33. It must be continuous interval. Okay, if your interval is not continuous, it is ordinal, means you categorize them. Okay, if you do for example, let me draw. Okay, so for nominal graph that mostly you would see, okay, is that you have, for example, male and female. And then the graph would not have no connection in between the two. Tak ada. It are two different category that is nominal. But when you have ordinal, you can have, where goes my, let's go my mouse punya cursor. Gone. Oh, okay. Okay, so ordinal is that you want to compare two data, but interval, the graph should be like this. Means the graph. It can be in dot that you can connect it together. That is called interval, that you can have comparison between the data. But nominal and ordinal is category. Okay, you have to categorize them. And then ratio is the data that you can take difference from the interval larger or smaller. Okay, twice as large. So the data from here, for example, twice as higher compared to January. This is, for example, temperature January to September. September temperature is 2 times higher than the temperature in January. Then that is ratio. Okay. If you don't understand, we have one exercise. One exercise. Okay. Okay. Breakout session number 2. This one, when I break out, do you all see the screen?
No.
No,
No.
doktor. Kita orang tak boleh nampak.
Tak nampak. Are you, one of you, take photo lah. Take photo. Okay. So there are 4 different levels. I can show you the previous one. Okay, you can take photo of this. What is nominal, what is ordinal, interval, and ratio. Okay, there are 4 categories. And try to find what are the 4 levels. Okay, I'm going to give, this one is shorter, so I'm going to give you 5 minutes for the breakout session that you join, and then try to find each statement. Is it nominal? Is it ordinal, interval, or ratio? Okay, you can jot your own answer. And then after that, I'm going to slowly review the answer with you. Boleh? Another breakout session, okay?
Boleh.
Alright. Okay. Jap. Nak jap lagi ke? Breakout session. Okay. Start again. Okay. Breakout session and okay. So I'm gonna share screen again. Okay. Oh, boleh. I cannot share screen. Screen two. Okay. Screen two. Okay. Tadi dah bincang, dah cukup masa bincang kan? Always underestimate. Okay, so to recap you again, nominals means you put them into category. Category B is yes, no, married, non-married. Jawapan tadi. Kan? Lepas tu ordinal is the largest to the worst. Okay, so you can put in into different category. Ordinals means the category are different, like a gap in interval in between. Interval in between. No. Interval is interval. Intervals means a continuous interval. Ordinal is a non-continuous. Means dia bukan, dia ada masa tertentu kat sini, tertentu kat sana. Okay, then the ratio. Alright, so the question just now was on here. Our Prime Minister is Muhyiddin Yassin. Jawapan dia adalah, oh, everybody put in chat room. Kena buka chat room pula. A lot of you answer number one is nominal. Okay, very simple. Okay, betul? Muhyiddin Yassin, yes. I'm gonna go slideshow. Alamak, dah keluar 3 jawapan. Okay, then he is 73 years old because it's a ratio. I put it as a ratio because 73 years old is a number that you can compare. Okay, 73 years old is old age people, warga emas. Okay, it's a ratio because it can be ratio from somebody else. For example, 73 years old, you can ratio it to the total age or the average of our Prime Minister in Malaysia. He is not the oldest. Means you still can compare his age to somebody. So the data can represent a ratio because you can compare it with other data. Okay, like Muhyiddin Yassin, our Prime Minister is Muhyiddin Yassin. You cannot compare. Like now, our Prime Minister is Muhyiddin Yassin. You cannot say we have Prime Minister 1, Prime Minister 2. That is 2 different titles. Okay. Then the third one, I put it as interval because you have interval year. Okay. So the Parliament of Pago is that you have a time frame. Betul lah saya cakap tadi on the statement of interval that you must have a continuous data that it can be justified. Ada tak ada, yes or no, or we have it here or have it there. So for example, the Malaysian Parliament of Pago, you can draw a line of X and Y, then the years of being elected by Muhyiddin Yassin. Okay, then you have all the data that comes up and down. Okay, he is married to Norain Abdul Rahman. Next, it's a nominal. Okay, because it's a statement. Okay, number 4 is nominal. Yes, his total income last year was, this one I just clear lah, I don't know betul tak betul. I just put in type. It's a ratio because you can compare it to a year, how many that he is going, his income per day, per month. So you can have it ratio, okay? And then when you have ranked the best Prime Minister of Malaysia, so it's an ordinal. So semua pun ada. So siapa yang dapat jawab yang betul-betul, I think it's only number 2 that most of you have a little bit mistake. Okay. Boleh faham kan sampai sini? Okay. Alright, we are going to do more exercise in the next class lah. Because one time statistik bukan It is not like one time you learn, you understand everything. Saya pun have to, every semester repeating myself. Okay. So when we have collect all the data, you know what are your individuals, you know what are your variables, okay? Then you have to explain. Okay. When it comes to explain, a lot of people, a lot of students, a lot of lecturers, even researcher can be mistake. And it can be descriptive statistic or it can be inferential, means you have to do information and draw conclusion. So the first is collect. So just now, when I go through is, when we want to collect, it is very important how do we want to collect the data. And it's different for different kind of fields in marine ecosystem. Because I can do random. Random means I can just pick lah. Like just now, I pick the number of students. I don't know if you don't have. Or I can have systematic samples. Mean I list you in the number of 50. I only take 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. A systematic sample. Or it can be stratified, means after 3%, I pick one number. After 2%, I pick number. So it's also like not random. Random is like the lucky draw randomly pick. Okay. And then systematic samples is continuous. After 2, I pick 1. But stratified is that you jump a little bit. For example, after you pick 2, then after that you pick 3. After that is 5. So it's a mixture of systematic and random. Or you can be cluster. Cluster means 1 to 5 and then 10 to 15. Then you jump in between. So you cluster the samples. Convenient is that whoever in front of me, whoever open the video, I pick you. That is my convenient. Because you open your video, I'm pretty sure that you can at least respond to me by angguk-angguk or tak angguk. Betul? So how am I going to sample? So in a marine ecosystem, sampling is very, for me, sampling must be right. If your sampling is not right, how you want to do statistic is already wrong. So chapter 3, for example, I mean, you are not in third year kan, but you're going to third year, you know that third year, nanti you belajar KPSM dengan Dr. Heng and you going to FYP. Or you are going to do anything else on research. Chapter 3 or chapter 2 are on methodology and methods. Methods and methodology. When you come to this methodology, it's very important, it must be correct. I cannot say I go sampling today, alamak, saya lupa bawa snorkel. So saya tengok daripada boat je lah. Then tomorrow, oh I bawa snorkel, I turun air, I tengok apa dalam air. Cannot. When you come to method, it must be very specific. You must plan it very, very well. Okay. So for example of this, investigation the special distribution of phototrophic phytoplankton in tropical estuary. Okay. So you can see that they want to know what is the individuals here. Saya tak boleh nak panggil Amira sebab dia tak ada. Huh?
Phytoplankton.
Yes. So the object here is phytoplankton. What is the variables?
Distribution.
Distribution.
Variables is distribution of the phytoplankton. But if you read here, there are also conditions that they want to know, the physical, the chemical variables. It is all the variables that they are going to determine. Betul? Betul tak?
Yes.
Yeah. So they want to know the distribution according to the variables here. All right, variables here. And when you look at their sampling point, what kind of sampling is this? Is this random sampling or is this apa nga tadi? Random, stratified, systematic, or cluster, or convenient? You remember these 5? What kind of sampling is this? Because marine is very unique. You cannot like people. Like after 2 people, I pick one. After 2 langkah, I go and grab one. After naik boat 10 minit, I stop and I take. Cannot. Okay. And it cannot be randomly suka-suka say I sampai sana, I see the water very calm, then I want to take water parameters. So this is not random. Okay. This is not stratified. This is more to cluster. So you can see that the cluster is that they have cluster by the cluster number 2, cluster by cluster number 3, and they are cluster by cluster number 1. Okay, one is they cluster to different kind of ecosystem. One is river, 2 is between river and the Carry Island, and then 3rd is the islands. So they cluster, and within the cluster, they randomly and also pinpoint which are the most important. Okay, that is for water quality sampling for phytoplankton. Means they sample phytoplankton as they samples the variables from the physical and chemical of the water properties. Okay, there is no specific, but it's a mixture of everything, and they know when. Okay, next example is on this. Last year I teach you all kerja lapangan. That you remember that in the lab I lay a long transect line and ask you to walk along the transect line, right? If you remember. Okay, we have point, intercept, transect. Means every point, every 0.5 meter you take a point, a data. Okay, means is a stratified samples. I already fixed. I cannot say I swim 0.5, I take data, then I swim 5 meter, I take data. Cannot. I already fixed for you. 0.5 must take data. Okay, every point sampling. But for example, this is line, intercept, transect. Means they want to look at all the whole community, that the sampling must be according to the benthic. So for example, this is benthic. Okay, point, intercept, transect, and line, intercept, transect have different. So if you want to look at the cover, you can have line, intercept, transect. But if you have a very short, the point, intercept, transect must have a lot of data set for you to collect. You might have like think, how to choose the best method. And how do you want to define the best method? Is that what is the result that you are looking at? What are the results that you aim to find? Katakan your end result, you want to find the percentage of algae in coral reef. Percentage of coral reef in algae means you have to survey along the whole linear, the line as transect, and then from the 100 meter, how many meter of that line transect is algae. Then you can have percentage of algae from that one transect line. Okay. Okay, another example. Okay, because I have to give you, when it comes to statistics, when it comes to marine science field, there are a lot of field that we can go into. The next one is intertidal sampling. So for example here, okay, they put a zonation. If you can see the picture, in a very long line of transect of 100 meters, they put a zone. Because intertidal, one transect line is not enough to represent. Tak cukup. For example, Pantai UMT. I want to know the rock area of Pantai UMT. 100 meter transect line is not enough to represent. So they put a zonation of 0 to 10 meter, 10 to 20 meter. And sometimes, for example, the guy here, this one I take from internet lah. You see the guy there, what is he doing? What is he holding and how? Quadrat, kan? Dia guna quadrat. So just now, one of the example of quadrat, oh, sorry, one of the kind of quadrat is that you can go to the transect line, 0 meter, put down the quadrat. Contoh quadrat, tak ada contoh quadrat. Tak ada. Oh, ada. I have a lot of things in my office. Okay, so example, this is the quadrat. Now you see my office now, my lab already. Okay, so I go to 0 meter. Then I put down the quadrat. Then I look. Saya tengok apa yang ada at 0 meter. Then I walk to 5 meter, then I put down the quadrat. I walk to 10 meter, I put down the quadrat. Then we know the interval of the differences of the rocky benthic cover at 0, 5, 10, 15, 30 meter. But at the same time, I also have another option. I can stand at the 0 meter and then I throw and then it landed on somewhere. That is called random. Maknanya randomly, I can just throw to find data. So the number of sampling point is very important here. You cannot have one quadrat to represent the whole area. You cannot have two quadrats to represent the whole area. You might need to have like 20, 30 quadrat to represent an area. So when it comes to planning for statistics, you have to plan, one, you know the individuals. Then you know what is the variables. Then you need to know what is the replicates, what are the subsamples, how many do you have to find. And the data, is it interval, is it ratio, is it nominal? All this you have to define at the beginning of your data analysis. It's not that when you collect data, come back, alamak, sini tak cukup, sana tak cukup, data tak ada, lupa nak tulis. Kan? Cannot. Okay lah. Another one, this one, for example, from New Zealand Journal, is on sand sources of farewell speed intertidal sand flats. If you can see, all the dots here are all their sampling points. You can imagine how much time and how much money that science are needed to finish up all this data. Collect is only collect. Collecting, field trip is the most fun part. But after that, come back when you have all the data analysis, that is where the emotion just now that came up. Okay, another thing, let's go through. So the basic guideline to study a statistical study, you have to identify the objects, you have to specify the variables, you have to decide on the sampling method. And all the different fields of marine science, there are a lot of sampling methods. And sampling methods is good that you can follow somebody else, and the sampling methods can be repeatable. If your sampling methods cannot be repeat, it cannot be in science. It needs to be repetitive, okay? Berulang kali digunakan, right? And then after that, the end is that you have to do the study. And when you want to do the study, there are two different. Ada lagi banyak kategori nak belajar tau. I also don't know if you can follow up. Or do you want to have it next on Thursday? Next on Thursday. Because when I explain, I hope that because the class, when we talk about SLT, of the time of learning is that you have to either understand or not understand. So this one I'm going to go through, not going to go through, but just to recap of what we have, collecting data. So I'm trying to investigate what is the personality of each student here. Because all of you are unique character. There are 60 personalities. Okay, this takes about some time to answer. Okay, this one I'm going to post this back into eLearn. Then you go to this link. Okay, and then after that you try to fill up. Once you fill up the link, there are about banyak soalan lah. Just try to be yourself to answer. There is no wrong or right or who you should be. Everybody have their rights. You are unique on your own. You are special on your own. Okay, I just want to play around a bit because I have not seen you all for a year. Little bit boring lah. I mean, I want some interaction from you all. So one of it is you do the test, and then at the end of the test, if you key in your email, you have which type of you, okay? And then what is your role? Because everybody have different role. If I am diplomat, maknanya I boleh jadi pergi parliament kot. I can be diplomat of Malaysia. But I am confident in your region. That is my results for last week. Okay, every year if you do this test, you are changing because your lifestyle change, your thinking change. But for current now, if you can please go here, and then after that go to e-learn. You have to submit by this Tuesday so that I can see the data and analyze. You just need to key in what types you are, what are your role, what are your strategy, and percentage of if you are introvert. Because I think a lot of people, my friend, for example, claim they are introvert. Introvert means they are shy, they don't talk to people. But when they do the test, they are not introvert at all. They can talk. It's just that maybe they are shy to me, or maybe I am too garang or whatever. I think so. This is for us to play, that you can play around. And then I think that's all for today. Hopefully your emotion just now from the blue, you maintain your blue, you don't from blue just now you go to orange like I'm dying cause I don't understand. Right? That's all for today. Thank you for your participation on few breakout session that we try to do. Okay. I'm gonna see you on Thursday. Okay, pukul 10 pagi Good lah. I think the class very
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Alright, thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you,
bye.
Doctor.
Okay, Doktor, bye-bye.
Thank you, Doctor. Welcome.
Bye. Leave.
Thank you, Doctor.
You have meeting.
Ish, mana ada?
Banyak activity. I don't know if you all like the activity or not. Some of you might like, some of you might don't like the activity. So tak tahulah. Amira kat mana? Siapa kat belakang ke hulu ke hilir jalan tu?
Saya ada dekat pejabat MPP. So MPP lain ada kerja ulang-alik.
Bella,
Oh,
saya cakap
yo.
dengar semua.
Sebab saya pakai earphone, orang tak dengar pun.
Amirah MVP.
Wah, yeah, Marisa MVP. Ya, itu nampak poster tu, cantik poster tu.
Ya, Agung.
Ni mesti rakan-rakan you work you ni.
Ya, sokongan.
Mesti Doctor, mesti. Kami support dia, support dia.
Support mestilah tolong buat kerja, bukan support main support je.
Betul, tolong buat kerja.
Kan? Saya pun faham tu.
Kita kena balik tolong buat kerja.
Okay lah, bye. Leave.
Okay, bye. Thank you, Doktor.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.